Good afternoon, guys. Monday, August the 11th, Blue Line. I always try to stay positive with my channel if I can, as much as I can. Today I'll do a Blue Line story, and then later on I'll do a Generation X story. I like to kind of mix it up. A lot of times in police work, we're on the East Coast, so when the hurricane season come in, we're always on alert. So I remember when Hurricane Fran was coming in, I was working for the city of Red Springs as a city patrol. Keep in mind, folks are on the outside looking in that don't know. We do a lot of preparation. The fire departments is gearing up, getting equipment, supplies, getting food, getting water ready. The rescue squad doing the same thing, as well as the police department. And the sheriff office has a room where they do a live update, where they get information live as far as the storm path and projection and rains, how the wind's going to be. And I can't stress enough, when you see something like that coming and you're watching the news and they're giving you a warning, certain areas to evacuate, go ahead and evacuate, man. Don't stay. A good thing, make sure all your vehicles are gassed up, make sure you got a route that you can take, make sure you find out where the shelters are going to be, and make sure you got a safe way to get there. If you're out in the county, it's kind of tough, because once these roads get where they're not passable, you're stuck. I've seen rescue units stuck, not able to get back in because of trees in the road. Anyway, the storm hit at night. I think it came in to Wilmington. It came into Wilmington and came up. It got Lumberton, but not as bad as Florence did. We're talking about Hurricane Fran. Now Florence, oh my gosh. I mean, I can talk about all of them in this video because it's about a hurricane. I was working the sheriff office then when that one hit, and it came in and flooded the Lumber River. Flooded Lumberton. Lumberton was underwater. All the streets were underwater. Some of 95 was underwater. People don't understand the devastation. And when you're out there in it and you actually see it, it gives you kind of a different vision. Because I was parked under there was an Exxon gas station, Eddie's Exxon. And I was parked under the shelter that covers the gas pumps. The power had just blanked out. No power had went out. And you could hear the wind rumbling the top of it, kind of. And the wind was blowing so hard, I got blue bar lights on top of the patrol car. You could hear them banging. That's how hard the wind was blowing. Just banging. And when you looked into the roadway, what little bit of light you had, you could see the stoplights just swinging. And you know how heavy stoplights are? They were just swinging like no tomorrow. So I drove down 211. There's a place called Bleecker, which sells trucks and cars. It was on the right. Well, I think at that time on the right as well, just right before you get to Bleecker, right beside it, I want to say at that time, they've changed it since then, but there was a place that sold storage buildings, rent-to-own buildings, the aluminum buildings and the wooden buildings, prefab buildings, what have you. Well, they were sliding across the road like that. The wind was blowing across the road, especially the metal ones. I mean, just like they were nothing, blowing them across the road. And they ended up in the field right there beside it. There was a place we called the Dairy Ranch, which was like a burger joint. You can get hamburgers and ice cream, like a Tasty Freeze and a hamburger joint. A good place, man, good food. Of course, Bleecker had a generator, and the lights would illuminate their parking lot. Trees began to fall across the road. So some of the fire units would go out with chainsaws to cut the trees out when they could, when it wasn't too bad. I think my buddy Duron in Allenton, their fire department, I think they would do the same thing. When it's feasible, go out there and cut the trees out the roadway so the rescue units could get in and out. But it's hard to explain to you the amount of water that a hurricane pushes. When I was working as a St. Paul City patrolman, I got stuck at the shelter there at the high school, where the high school was a shelter or something. You know, I was back there manning the big generator. But that night, as the night went on, we had cots set up in there, and everybody was in there asleep. Me and Neil Locklear, we were kind of manning the shelter. He was inside, and I was out by the generator. But as you walked outside, you know, you're talking about a high school. You got a football field with stands and the buildings in the back. You got a field there. But when you went out there, it looked like a lake. It looked like I could hook the old John boat up and fire it up and ride through the darn field. That's how much water that hurricane poured down. In the back streets, even though we had a good flow system, it was all flooded up. Man, you talking about almost 3 foot of water. You could barely get a truck through there. You know? When that one hit in Lumberton, I was working the shelter all the way in Fairmont. All the way in Fairmont. The lieutenant come pick me up in a Humvee. The sheriff's office had like 3 or 4 of them big Humvees. Man, we'd ride right through the water in that thing. We went down 95, right through the water. I mean, and them things are tall. They could go, but you know, when you're dealing with people like that, and they're at the shelter, and you're trying to care for them, some are so thankful, that some are so ungrateful. I mean, you got to toss between the two, but you can only do what you can, because you eat the food that you get. I mean, we had crates of food, Army MREs, and you know, we're getting a lot of people in from 95. Their cars were getting drowned out and flooded up, and they said on the news to stay off the interstate. Finally, they closed off 95. So, but in Red Springs, 95 was far away. 95 was in Lumberton, so we didn't have a main highway issue like that. But we had a lot of old trees that falling on houses. We had a lot of power lines falling down in the road. Strangely, people did behave. You had some knuckleheads that would cut up. You know, put it this way: you got a Category 5 hurricane just hit. Somebody's out showing their run, and the police are called. You got to get there and try to handle it. But these idiots don't see a hurricane. They don't care. They don't care. You got some people like that, man, just ungrateful. But that's what you deal with. You know, we had a couple of firefighters that were hurt and injured trying to get stuff out of the roadway, trying to get cars out of ditches, cars turned over, people outside seeing, trying to look, you know, getting their cars hemmed up, the vehicles hemmed up, and we try to get them back home. I know I worked about 3 hurricanes when I worked Red Springs. when they hit, man, they hit. Devastation. And we went probably a week without power because everything a lot of stuff had to be rebuilt and had to bring in some new transformers. But the biggest thing small towns will do like that, when you know something's come in, they would go to the main power off, shut the power off right then and there. That way, there wasn't a lot of transformers exploding and blowing up because of the weather. Went ahead and shut it off right then and there, so that way when the storm clears, the guys can get the lines up and they can cut it back on, not have to worry about transformers blowing up. But people wanting to get to the store, there's no power. They can't run the cash register unless they're on generators. So the biggest thing is I always say, make sure you got your supplies, make sure your vehicles are gassed up, make sure your animals are taken care of, the whole nine. Because it's a tough thing, because once it's over with and you go out the next day, you see all the trees and shrubbery everywhere, and there's water flooding, the roads are still flooding. You really can't get nowhere. You can't go to work because the roadway's full. So if everybody can come together and work together, we make it through, and that's how you do that. It's tough. I'm telling you, it is tough. But all the officers, we were out there longer than 12 hours. Just non-stop. Just trying to watch over our people and offer service when we can, and just constant work. And when we got off, we were tired. So we had one shift come in, and then another shift would come in. That's when it was over with. But while it was going on, everybody at the PD, if you were an officer, your ass was right there. Day shift, night shift, it don't matter. You were there till it was over with. That's how that works. A lot of people don't realize that. You don't go in and just work your 8 hours or 12 hours and go home. No, it won't happen. You stayed there till it was over with. A lot of devastation. Alrighty, man. Hey, if y'all like what you see in here, man, hit like and subscribe, and till we see each other again, man. As we say in Rob Coast, shine, yeah. Y'all have a good one.